This is James Dixon, and welcome back to Peak Performance Masterclass. This isn't just a podcast. This is a how-to overcome challenges, become something because of a challenge, making an impact, making a difference in the world, finding out that your peak performance comes out when you're put under the test. Today, there's no one that embodies that more than Crystal Bayat. She's an impact person. Her story is going to inspire some, but it will bring about change in the lives of many. She's a peak performer. Welcome to the Masterclass, Crystal.
Thank you so much, James, for having me.
Well, I'm honored that you would be here. For those that don't know your background, tell us a little bit about how you grew up.
I think it would be really hard for Western audience to listen to this. That how I grew up and made my life. I was born with challenges, with hardship. Basically, struggled my entire childhood with securing basic rights, which is rights to education. While people in this part of the world got it for kind of like for granted, right?
Right.
So my I think it was. I still remember as a kid. I had to convince my paternal family to give me the permission, grant me the permission to go to school. But again, I always, because I grew up with challenges and I left sometimes challenge in the life. It brings change. It brings success. My personal life, my personal journey with challenges, with hardship and struggles made me the person who I am today.
When you think about, I have a saying that says, when you go through something, you become something.
Exactly.
And what you faced when you say the idea that you weren't just education, we think is just something when you're 5, you go to kindergarten, you start your track of education. That wasn't the case for you.
I think there was a lot. As a kid born in Afghanistan in a patriarchal society, for me, after knowing myself, who I am, and for what purpose I am in this life, finding my purpose was really hard. But I find my purpose in the process of these challenges.
When we talk about that, the journey of finding what am I here for and what am I supposed to do? Do you remember the day when you finally were like, this is something I would fight for? Do you remember an instant or a moment where you had to fight for something?
I experienced a lot of things that I think made me to find myself and my purpose in my life. But honestly, overcoming the challenges, the barriers, and I think it's something might be very strange for audience that it's not only education, but just being born with the gender who I am, right?
Right.
Being as a girl, as a woman, it was a big struggle for me. And that was the time, I remember my mom was telling me, because I wanted to do some certain things in my life and I had to wear boys' clothes, and I always denied to wear that because that time was a time that I find myself that I need to do this being as a girl. I don't need to change my appearance in order to do some certain things. So I think that was the time I realized who I am. And no matter if I'm a woman, I was born as a girl, but I can do some certain things that can bring change. And to be honest, it was a long process, and I overcame. And being as a girl, I did some things that was very unusual in my country, in my society that I was born and raised.
I look at it this way. And I appreciate you even sharing it. I think I can identify a lot because I grew up watching my hero, my idol was my grandmother. And it was not a male, was not a superhero, was not an athlete, it was a woman. And it was a woman that was being denied education. She was denied her humanity. And so in a patriarchal but also a racist aspect of where she grew up, the time she grew up in, she decided she would fight back by refusing to yield to those norms. Some of your fight is born in that.
Well, I do have the same experience. I was born in a country where the entire system is based on ethnicities. And because I was a minority, I was always deprived from my political and social rights because just I was a minority in that country. And when in 2017, when I realized that this is my ethnicity is basically my identity, this is where I came from, right? And I can also say that I was raised in a pretty racist country. And the moment I realize, and I stand for it. Whenever I see injustice, I just stand. I want to work towards it. And from my experience, 3 years campaign, bringing awareness about this, vital issues that had to be fixed. And 3 years, 2017 to 2020, I worked so hard to get this official recognition from the government for minorities in Afghanistan.
Wow.
And it's I feel that in myself. That how I have a taste of this deprivation and discrimination in myself.
There's something that you said where you had to stand up, or you were standing up for your people.
Well, I always say that stand for what you believe and and fight for the change you want to see in the world. So
we have become so connected in that. There is a phrase, and I'll share it, and you tell me what it means to you. Hope for her. What does that mean to you?
Elevate her if she is in need. Support her if she needs. Stand with her. Give her a voice.
There are people that don't understand the depth of why you have so much passion about women given an opportunity. You had to leave your home country, but you didn't just leave. You decided you would make an impact. You would take a stand. And most people will take a stand when it doesn't matter, when we can stand behind a keyboard and type or text or leave a message. But that wasn't the case for you.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
No. When the Taliban took over in Afghanistan, something came within me because basically my entire life was a fight for justice and granting my basic rights. And when I see the values, the principles, the achievements we built, over 20 years in Afghanistan was ruining in front of my eyes, collapsing in front of my eyes. And that was the time that I think I stand for my values.
I love that. When you say you stood for your values, that's where I said that was the moment where you decided it wasn't about Crystal. It was about being crystal clear on the fact that everyone had a right.
Well, I think here I want to point that we should stop expectation from others to bring a change for us. I was expecting that moment like, I hope that a woman should come out and speak and let the Taliban knows that women are existed in this country. And I just asked myself, why you're not standing? Why you're expecting others to give the sacrifice, but you're not doing by yourself? So the moment I stand for my beliefs, for my faith, trust me, it paved the way of this revolution that now women are fighting on the front line against the injustice. And every day it gives me energy. And this has nothing to do with Crystal. This is about the 20 million women who are oppressed, by the Taliban.
So that's why when we talk about this, there are very few women who have faced great obstacles. And what I mean by that is this. Sometimes in America, we'll hear people say, it's unfair because you're not allowing us to compete in sports or something like that, or they're allowing multiple genders, whatever the issue might be. And they think that that's something to fight for. But the truth is, fighting for someone to live, fighting for someone to have the right to get up every morning, to go after their goals and their dreams. It's not about an athletic accomplishment. It's about becoming someone, any accomplishment. And so when you're fighting for that and you hear about Harriet Tubman, someone who's willing to go ahead and I'll take stripes for my people, I'll fight for my people. There was a time where people there in the Taliban wanted to take your life because you were speaking up for other women. Is that right?
Exactly. Yeah, I think it's very, I think sometimes hard for people to realize that how much, they got this freedom and this opportunities for granted. Mm-hmm. Because for my people and where I came from, every time, my personal experience, that every time I came back from work, I was just putting my head down and thanking God that save me for that day. And the next day I was trying to put myself back towards another goals, every single time was possible for us to be killed. Mm-hmm. But I always say that fight for what you believe. We have to stand for what we believe. And I did what was right.
You did not only do what was right, but you did it for the right heart reasons. You did it for others, and you continue to.
I believe that, I just, I always think that giving a voice and having a voice is very important, and it can lead to a big change. So believing in the power of having a voice made me, to continue to stand for those people.
When you left Afghanistan, came to America, how long ago was that?
Almost 2.5 years.
2.5 years ago?
Yeah.
What was the transition like? I mean, can you remember, walk us through the day you left and the day that you arrived in America. What was the difference?
It's very hard. Sometimes I get emotional. I hope I don't get it. Okay. But, it's like, I don't know if any of you guys or the audience have ever experienced this, which I'm pretty sure not, but building a life with your blood and vein and, every second and energy, and then losing within a day is so hard. It breaks you into pieces. And it did. I think sometimes I make myself strong enough to not show for the people, but it's so hard to leave your country, to leave your home, leave your loved one behind, and just like to save your life and get to like in a place where you can breathe, you can eat back, and you can sleep back. And honest, I've been traveling before leaving Afghanistan. I traveled most of Middle East countries, and I was a businesswoman. I had business in several countries. I never had a taste of like being a refugee, you know. It's really hard.
When you say being a refugee, people have no idea just what that means, but from your perspective, coming and walking away from there, coming to America, what was it like to look back now?
Well, first thing, I think most of people, when you call I'm a refugee, they think, oh, you're that lower, low people who, kind of like, I think I experienced things most when I travel out of Utah, not within Utah, because I think right now I feel like I never had that kind of conversation with people here. They always welcome me, but when I traveled out of the state, I remember like they were making faces and they were just like uneducated. The only thing when you say refugee, they think that you're uneducated, incapable. And that hurts you the most because I think sometimes it's like the language barriers, but doesn't mean that you're incapable of doing things.
Wow.
They are very capable. They worked in like some people came, and I see that within my circle, some of my friends came because they didn't know language. They had to go for a blue-collar job. That hurts them because every time they realize their time in Afghanistan and now being here, and I think it's very hard. It's, if you're not on the right hand, it hurts you so much, and it takes decades and decades to get back in your normal life. It's so hard.
You're talking about a premise of people underestimate you because they don't understand what you've lived through. I think sometimes when you've been through trials and you've overcome something, and people see you on the other end, or they don't see the present danger that you come from, they don't know to give the proper respect for a survivor. But you're not a survivor for Crystal, you're a survivor for everyone behind you. The fact that you have chosen to use your voice to echo it for other people.
Yeah, I think, I have my personal experience with different people in different places, and especially just when people say that, where are you from? And I say from Afghanistan. Automatically their minds go for violence, for war, and that hurts me so much. Like there were people in my country that within the bullets and smokes, they built a career for themselves. And it's so hard for most of people to get that courage to do for their personal life while they are living in this kind of countries and judge you based on that. And I experienced that. And I see, like you never walked in my shoes and to see that how it looks like to go through this situation.
Man.
And if I say someone, like most people say that, oh, you didn't study English, they never know that what was the struggle behind to just learn this language. In a country where fundamentalist extremists take over and ruling that country. So just like to get the courage come out of your home is
That's a big step.
It's so much, and then you go through the whole process.
You've taken some large steps, but there are some places you've gone to make sure that voices are heard. You've gone to the UN. Could you talk a little bit about that, about what you're working on, things that you're going, so you can make a difference?
So the day I came out of my country, I just took a fist of dust of my country, and I promised to myself, I put my hands on my heart, that I will work for this country. And my promise is to free that country from any fundamentalist and extremist group that they are existing now. Wherever I go, nothing is about myself. For most of people, might look like having fun or, but for me, it's the future of my country. That's my home, and I want to build my home.
You're an ambassador. The moment you left there, you didn't just grab dirt. You carried that. And I want to remind you of this, that God took the dirt of the land and he made man. And he's from the dust. He said that we would return one day. What you're doing is returning with love. You're returning with inspiration. You're returning with character. The work that you're doing to get the UN, to know that what you took in your hand, you carry in your heart now. And so hope for her is your foundation. You're going to be helping other men, other women, other children come. Hope for her. The hope for her is that she can have not only what you have, but have it even better. Hope for her is not just that they could come from Afghanistan to America, but that Afghanistan could have its freedoms.
Yeah, I think Hope for Her International is now a platform for us where we can help any woman who is facing injustice. We're aiming globally, but definitely as a person who came, from that country and see injustice, witnessing injustice, I want to help those women. And again, as what you said, just not granting their basic rights, but having a better life.
That's right.
Free out of tension of losing their freedom next day, supporting them and in their journey, in their dreams that they're, holding for years and years in their head.
You've taken steps to stand for something, to stand against something, and now you're taking steps so that others will have a path. What are you working on now? What's out of your heart now? What are you working on? So that everyone that is listening, so that we can stand with you, what are you working on?
I usually don't like to make people emotional, but just every day, this is my question, what you guys would do, and if your sister, if your mother, if your wife is not allowed to get out of the door without you. Mm-hmm. So imagine your kids waking up in the morning and not having the right to go to school. What would you do? Mm-hmm. So now we are creating that platform and making sure that those girls have access to education, access to, to very basic things like having food on their tables.
You're talking about things that we take for granted, and you're making sure that they get those wishes granted.
One day.
One day. We started already. Day one, you did. Yeah. The day one was the day that you left. The day two you've been working on. By the time that I met you, you'd already been doing amazing things. It is my hope that I help you reach other peaks and so that we can pull other people in. We have so many more lives to touch, so many people to touch. When people are thinking about their businesses, thinking about making it, becoming a success, it's not just about building your business. It's about building a legacy. What will you be remembered for? When they ask at the end of your days, what is it that Crystal wants to be remembered for?
I think for my fight towards justice. I want to see justice everywhere, no matter which geography you're born in, which color you're coming to this world. Everyone should be treated equally.
You are well on your way to doing that. I appreciate your heart. I appreciate your sincerity of it. Everywhere you go, you end up having to tell the story. I want to always encourage you not to worry about how emotional it might make others feel. They need to feel what you felt. Sometimes when we're telling people stories, we're walking them through our footprints. We will gloss over it. We would want them to understand, but we don't want them to feel sorry. But we need them to be able to understand what you're fighting for. It's not just for the right to come here. You've succeeded. You've already been successful. You were a business professional or globally doing work. There are billions of views of you. There are things that you've done that other people haven't done, and you know yet that's not enough for you. You want to touch more lives and give more hope. That's why you changed the name of your organization, isn't it?
Yeah. I think we've done some projects in Crystal Bayat Foundation. This was a foundation when I had business in Afghanistan, and I just relicensed it in the United States. But then, the more I see injustice, the more my mission became broader, bigger. And I wanted to build a platform where everyone can contribute and get themselves in, part of the things we're doing. And right now with Hope for Her International, we're aiming to establish and secure justice in those parts of the world that people are struggling with their very, very basic rights.
There is something you said there. We have a tendency to make things about us. What do I want to be when I grow up? What do I want to do? What do I love doing? What's my purpose? What's my passion, right? What I love is the growth and maturity to say, it's not about me. It's about them. Hope for Her becomes every woman. Hope for Her becomes every nation. Hope for Her is every creed, every race, every background. Hope for Her is bigger than her.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think it's beyond Afghan women.
That's right.
It's every woman around the world.
You have things coming up. Tell me about the things that you have on your docket. What are you doing now? And how can we support those things?
I think, so our main focus is on 3E: education, empowerment, and evacuation.
Education, empowerment,
Evacuation. Right now we have a lot of girls who are waiting to get access to classrooms. And we're hoping by end of this year to double the number of students. Right now we have 26,000 students all over Afghanistan.
Wow.
And we're hoping that by end of the year we get up to 50 to 60,000 students. And also there are some women who fought on the front line against the Taliban and stood for their values, for their freedom and beliefs. And that put them in a high risk.
Okay.
They were in prison, tortured by Taliban, and after working with international organization to release them, they are now in Pakistan and Iran. We're helping them. I told you last time when we met about the girl who was in our last event, right? Pakiza Munir. They're the girls that we brought it into Utah.
Wow.
And now she's working at the governor's office. You see, within 6 months, how maybe that cost us 10 grand, right? But it's not about giving them food, giving them, a notebook or a pen or water. It's about giving them a life to pursue their dreams. You see, if you compare her life before and after, it's like comparing apple with pear. It totally changed. She's now in the governor's office, waking up every day with this free spread and going to work,
making
and coming.
A difference. Yes.
And now she's part of Hope for Her International. She want to give back. So we have 52 women in Pakistan, 30 women in Iran. That the policies in those countries are also very restricted on refugees, and we're hoping that by September we get these women into United States. Well, I want them to come to Utah.
Well, I know this. The world needs them. The world needs you. There's a young girl somewhere watching, or a woman that's going to watch this and show that to her daughter. If you wouldn't mind, talk to that little girl about what's possible.
I think I'm gonna just have 2 short words for. Never take these opportunities for granted. And we experienced this. We lost our freedom, and we thought it would be forever. stand and protect it. Fight for it. The second thing is that everything they have in their life, it can be taken away in a day if they don't fight for it, if they don't protect it.
I want to say this to you. I appreciate the fact that you have allowed us to peek into your life. You've shared what it takes to overcome something, and because you became something. You went through hell and high water to make sure that others could stay afloat. Crystal Bayat is a hero. She makes sure that she makes an impact. Her organization is called Hope for Her. It's a foundation, but the foundation of it is not built just on her. It's on the shoulders of every man, every woman that believes that everyone has a right, an equal right, to privileges, to opportunities. They're not asking for bread or water. They're asking for the opportunity to make their own. Thank you for tuning in to Peak Performance Masterclass.